Matt Letcher, Rick Husnett, and Jessica Parker Kennedy, who respectively played Eddie Thawne, Eobard Thawne, the original one, and XS, aka Nora West Allen, the daughter of Barry Allen and Iris West, are all returning for season 9. Now, we already knew Rick Husnett was returning. They announced this after the photos came out, which, and then Matt Letcher, who honestly was the last person I was ever expecting to be back in this season. I mean, it wouldn't have been like a full-on surprise, but I was kind of surprised that they even announced it. But let alone he's in the back half of season 9, probably in the series finale, or 9/12 or 9/11, is what it looks like. All I know is this last graphic novel is going to be nuts. I mean, it might be the best graphic novel of the season, or the series, if they do it right, which I think they might. Now, in this video, I'm going to be talking about Matt Letcher and Jessica Parker Kennedy. I've done a full video over Rick Husnett returning as Eddie in season 9. I did a full video over that like 9-10 days ago when we found out. So if you want to hear my thoughts about Rick Husnett returning, go watch that video. I'm not going to talk about it much here. The main thing I'm going to be talking about is Matt Letcher. Now, there are statements from Eric Wallace I'm going to go over. There are 3 of them regarding these 3 actors. I'm going to talk about them. There'll be this link in the description down below. The top link will take you to this article that I'm taking the screenshots from. You'll be seeing them on screen as I talk about them. Let's start off with Jessica Parker Kennedy. The Flash has always been a show about the importance of families, so having the incredible Jessica Parker Kennedy back as fan favorite speedster XS was always in the cards. As the daughter of Barry and Iris, Jessica has already made an unforgettable mark on her show's history, and with her latest season 9 adventure, Jessica is taking her incredible portrayal of Nora West Allen to even greater heights in a way that the audience has never seen before. So it's gonna be like a whole new story arc for Nora, which I'm excited for. I wonder if we're gonna see her girlfriend, because in 8/15, Barry said that Nora had a wife at some point in the future. She doesn't have a girlfriend right now, so I would assume that they set this up in the final season. I'd be a little bit surprised if they didn't. But yeah, I'm excited for the new XS story. Going to Rick Husnett about Eric Wallace's statement regarding him. We're so excited to have Rick join us once more as we put together a final batch of episodes, emotional and thrilling episodes. It's especially wonderful as Rick was an integral part of the show's inaugural season, season 1. So having him return to help us conclude our show's incredible 9-year run was more than a privilege, it was a no-brainer. We don't know if he's returning as Cobalt Blue or not. I'm assuming he is. And I'm going to do another whole video about my theories about him coming back, because there were Syphilis released over the weekend after the news came out that were interesting, to say the least. Nothing shows that he's Cobalt Blue. I'm just assuming that. We're going to jump into Matt Letcher now, the statement that Eric Wallace gave out. Having the incredible, gracious, and talented Matt Letcher return for our final season was something we couldn't resist. So we created a very special story for him, one we've been excited to tell for a while, but couldn't until now. The result is a wild and bittersweet episode we hope fans, both old and new, will love. Now, I've said several times, Tom Cavanaugh is the definitive Reverse Flash of this show. If we have Thawne showing up, it should be Tom. I believe that in the beginning of the show, it shouldn't even been Matt involved at all. It should have just been Tom purely. He is the exact opposite of Grant, where they're both characters. And Tom brings a whole new psychotic, scary, horrifying way to Thawne, especially in season 8. He delivered a whole new level of scariness to Thawne that we haven't seen since season 1. It was really horrifying and chilling, and I've rewatched season 8 20 times. I still feel the same way. This season 8 is my favorite season of the show, purely because of Grant, Tom, the Armageddon story arc, the last graphic novel season 8, and what they did with Barry and Thawne in season 8. It will never be done. It's never been done before, and it will never be done again in the show. Even if it was going for another 15 seasons, it never would have been repeated. So, the fact that they're bringing Matt back, and it says that, they created a very special story for him, that's bittersweet and wild. This makes me think it's an origin story, which is what I've been saying for months now. If they were to bring Matt back now, the only way they could do it is for an origin story, or they go back to the night where Barry's mom died. The only difference is it wouldn't lead to Barry dying. I know everyone wants Barry to turn to that lightning bolt that struck Barry, which is how it happened in the comics. And maybe, yes, that's how it happens in the Arrowverse. But the thing is that Eric Wallace already confirmed they're not killing Barry off. He confirmed that over the weekend. After all these statements came out, he went to TV Line and they released an article saying that Eric Wallace is not killing Barry off. He's not going to vanish. It's going to be a happy ending for Barry. And also, just to point out, if Barry dies, Bart isn't born, and the entire Earth Prime timeline is screwed up. And also, our sacrifice isn't worth it. I get why people want him to vanish, but this is post-crisis. People need to get their heads out of their you-know-whats and pay attention to what's been going on in the show for the past 2 or 3 years and pay attention. Because people wanting Barry to die, that's not realistic in the Arrowverse. It's not. Oliver died so Barry could live. In his dying words, he told Barry to keep on living, to keep on moving. He's been doing that for the past 3 years. To say that Barry will sacrifice himself would veto Oliver's sacrifice. And frankly, the entire Earth timeline, which was fixed so that Barry wouldn't vanish. Or Kara wouldn't die. So if you see someone saying that they want Barry to die, or they'll be upset that if Barry doesn't die in final season, they don't understand the show at all. They don't understand the Arrowverse at all. They don't understand Oliver's sacrifice at all. Most importantly, they don't understand Barry and Oliver's relationship at all. That is a fact. That's not my opinion. That is a fact. People who can't admit that's a fact, they don't know what they're talking about either. Not trying to sound like a smart aleck here, but it's a matter of fact that is true. People who want Barry to die don't understand the show at all, and don't understand Barry at all, and Oliver at all, or his sacrifice what it meant for Barry. So, if they go back to that night, it will be Matt Stone, as it should be, but it will not lead to Barry dying. And yes, him turning into a lightning bolt will lead to his death. I don't know why someone thinks that. I saw that on Twitter. I was like, what the hell? But it can end very differently for Barry, is my point. Now, the other whole story they can do with Matt, like I've been saying, origin story. They teased in Armageddon when Tom Stone in 805, when he was locked up, said that 2 centuries from right now, they will meet for the very first time. Barry is not like a Kryptonian. He can't live for another 2,000 years. Barry is a human being with superpowers. He lives the same age we all do, the same lifespan. There's no way in hell that Barry can live to be 250 plus years old. It's not possible. The only way that Thawne's origins can happen is if Barry time travels to the future for whatever reason, and Thawne has an origin story unfolding right before our eyes with our Barry being involved. That is the only way it can actually legitimately work. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if it does happen, because the matter of the fact is that we are dealing with heavy time travel in this last stuff now with the season and the series. I mean, we're dealing with time travel to, I'm assuming 2013, or way before Barry's parents were murdered. We're also dealing with 2049 time travel with Eddie in the future. It's a whole thing. So we're going to be dealing with a ton of time travel this season, which is, it depends how it goes, I guess. Because it kind of vetoes what Barry's been saying all this whole time. He doesn't want to time travel, but I guess if he has to, he will, right? He did in Armageddon when he had to. So it's a whole thing of how it worked out. Will it work out? I have faith that it will. I know a lot of people don't have faith in Eric Wallace that much anymore, but I do believe Eric Wallace knows what he's doing. And if he does it right, The Last Ever Now vs. 9 can be the best story in the entire series. It can top Armageddon, it can top season 1, 2, for a lot of people. I think it can easily top it for me if they do it right. And it's not Barry and Iris centric. This is the one graphic novel, the entire series that does not need Iris in it. It needs to be Barry, 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 Barry. Which, you know, season 9 is going to be a West Allen centric season. I already know it. We all know it. Because people won't shut up, and they're not going to shut up till it happens. And Eric Wallace is fooling for whatever reason because they want people to shut up. But the show is called The Flash. Season 8 proved that we got one Barry-centric season on the entire series. I'm okay with that. My problem is that season 9 needs to be Barry-centric on some level. It can still have Iris, you know, but it needs to be Barry-centric. And we don't need Iris telling Barry how to use his powers or any of that BS. We don't need We Are the Flashback. We need Barry being the Flash and it being about him being the Flash. If Iris wants to be involved, she can be involved. Who cares? No one's going to care. But, well, there'll be some people that care. But majority of the main fans of the show that actually care about the show, that's called The Flash and not The Flash and Iris, will actually care that Barry's the main focus. That's my point. People who love West Allen so much and not care about Barry as a character himself, they won't care. And they're going to complain like they did in season 8 when Candace wasn't in 8:15 to 8:18, which is purely because she skipped 4 episodes in season 7 and didn't tell anyone. Eric Wallace decided it's best to just make her have 4 days off or 4 episodes off, which, you know, I think was smart because Candace probably would have left anyway, screwed over season 8 like she did season 7. But the entire point I'm trying to make here is that this season needs to be Barry-centric. I've been saying that for months. And my number one worry about season 9 is that it will not be Barry-centric. I'm okay if Iris is in it. My main problem is when we are dealing with a storyline that needs Barry to be the Flash, but now it's including 20 different side characters with Iris involved in that 20. We don't need that. In 909, Iris can be in it for like 2 scenes, but the rest of it should be about Barry, Alvar, Dig, Wally, and Bloodwork. We don't need Iris in it every 5 minutes. We don't. It needs to be Barry, Wally, Alvar, Dig, Bloodwork. That's it. Iris and Wally, which we know will have a scene or 2 together in 909, that's fine. I'm all for that. And as long as Joe's in it too, because I think that'd be the best outcome for them 3 in the episode. But otherwise, it should be Barry, Alvar, Wally, Dig, and Bloodwork. That's the only way 909 will satisfy me, and I'm sure a lot of you, as if that's how it's played out. We don't need Cecile or Allegra or Chester, you know, butting in and ruining the episode and dragging it all out. Because we know it's going to be a lot of storylines in 909 alone. Like, Steven requested like 4 storylines, and they did them all. Plus, already on top of what Eric Wallace already had set up for 909. It's a lot that's going to be happening in that episode. Like, a ton of storylines for Oliver and Barry and Dig. So, it's going to be a heavy Barry-centric episode. You know, if they do it right. But I'm also sure it'll be the most hated episode of the season. By the West Allen stands that won't shut up. They're probably going to hate on it. That'll be fun to look at Twitter. When the episode airs, just seeing everyone hate on Eric Wallace and having Iris in the episode when it's clearly about Barry and Alvar and Dig, which it should be, and Wally too. But you know they're going to complain. I'm predicting it now, and I'm probably going to be right. It's going to drive me nuts for months. But I have hope for season 9. Like I've been saying, I don't think it'll top season 8 for me. I really don't. I also don't think it'll top season 1 or season 2 as a whole. The Last of a novel, if they do it right, like I said twice now, it can top season 8, 1, and 2. To me, if they do it correctly, it can. The Red Death story, I think, will be good, but it won't top Armageddon. It won't top season 1 or 2. I really don't think it will, which sucks, because I already know the premiere's not going to be that high level that season 8, 1, or not 8, season 8, 6, 4 were. Or even season 7's premiere, which is pretty cool, by the way. I got to rewatch it the other day. It was pretty good. But it's a whole thing of, you know, I don't think I'm going to care for season 9 premiere. Because I'm more interested in 902 than I am 901. But, and that's not because it's a What's Down Something episode, it's because it seems like Barry's going to be sidelined again in the premiere. We shouldn't be getting that. I could be wrong. I mean, we're going to find out in literally 3 days, 4 days, 3 to 4 days. You know, so it's coming, but it's going to be rough, I think. It's because everyone wouldn't shut up about how there's little and no Barry and Iris. Now we're finally getting them, but it's going to be way too much. There has to be a balance here. I don't think Eric Walsh wants to do that yet. He finally learned how to make Barry the Flash, and now he has to make Barry the Flash with Iris. That's going to be a hellhole. I already know it's going to be a hellhole. It's probably just not in the back half of the season. Or at least, in the majority of it, it seems like. Unless they're doing a lot behind the scenes, which they might be. I don't know. But I would be a little bit surprised if, in the back half, if Iris is in it as much as she is in the first half. Because, like in 903, Barry and Iris are, like, joined to the hip, it seems like. In 902, it's, like, some, but not much. In 905, which would be the finale of the Red Death story arc, I would assume, by, just me thinking out loud, that it would be a Barry Sundick episode, because as a speedster villain, Iris just has zero reason to be involved at all. But that's me. Iris is a speedster, and God, I hope she doesn't become one again. We don't. No one wants that. Probably the West Dallas fans do, but, I don't. But whatever. I can go on for hours and hours and hours about how this Flash community has gone to crap over the last year alone. I'm not saying you guys. I'm saying, like, people on Twitter and all that. The amount of hate the show's gotten for having less and less Iris in it is ridiculous. I mean, Season 8 was the best season to me because Barry was the main focus. For the first time in 8 years, Barry was the main focus. We didn't get that in Season 1, or 2, or 3, or 4, or 5, or 6, even 7. We've had enough West Allen for 8 years. I think it was time we got a little bit of a break from that crap. Season 9, they can bring it back, but do it better. Don't be like Todd Helbing and bring in Weird the Flash. Just do it better. If they want to make Iris a good character, give her a damn good storyline and I'll be okay with it. But there's just no reason to bring Iris into a good story arc just to shut it down and to ruin the entire story arc. Like she did with some episodes. His name, I don't remember exactly. The Deathstroke arc. Her story arc was completely ridiculous and they kind of brought it down at one point. I mean, it was just leave Iris out of it. Let her, be off camera or something. I don't know. Probably would have saved that graphic novel like 100 different ways. But, well, then we did get Eddie back in that episode, too. So that was something. But it's going to be a whole thing. And I will be reviewing and doing promo breakdowns for Season 9 when they start airing. Honestly, Wednesday 901 premieres, I will do a full review a few hours. The review will be out a few hours after the episode airs. And I'll do a promo breakdown the following night. So, every Wednesday, Flash review when the episode's on. And then every Thursday, promo breakdown when the promos come out. Obviously, there are 13 episodes. So, there'll be 13 reviews and 12 promo breakdowns. When the series is done, I will do a full review of the season. When the Red Death graphic novel is done, I'll do a full review of the Red Death graphic novel, like I did in Armageddon, the Deathstorm story arc, and the Last of Us Season 8. So we're looking at roughly 15 Season 9 reviews from me, which I think is more than what I was expecting. So 15 reviews, 12 promo breakdowns. I'm assuming a ton of trailer breakdowns because they've been releasing like 2 or 3 trailers lately, so, or they did have done 2 or 3. I can't imagine they won't do more. I mean, they did like 10 in Season 8, so I wouldn't be surprised if they did a lot of trailers in Season 9 just to hype up the season more and more and more and more and more and more and more because CW is lacking on hyping up a season apparently, so who knows. But yeah, thank you guys for watching the video. Have a good day, have a good night, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.